And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Friday Night Magic at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia for our inaugural broadcast. Tonight's FNM tournament is standard with 4 rounds. Cutting the top 8, my name is Zachary Evans, and I will be, for lack of better talent, your commentator for this evening. Alright. Joining me in the booth now is Jordan Peckjoe.
Hi there.
Tonight's first match will be Scotty Wright, who's playing Naya Aggro deck with birthing pods in it. And he will be playing against Trent Farr, who I believe is playing Frites. I imagine we will know relatively quickly if he's playing Frites or if he's not playing Frites.
I think it's a homebrew Frites.
I think it's a homebrew. I think it's someone else's homebrew that was homebrewed right off the internet. So I think it's I think it's 2 homebrews removed from a pretty standard Frites deck. It's probably about 12 mythic creatures, Faithless Lootings, and Burial Rites. Scotty's deck is more of a, like I said, I can't remember if there's pods in that or not. I guess we'll figure it out. But I know it's all the other Naya good stuff. Bonfires, Silver Hearts, Mana Dorks.
I'm pretty sure, if I can remember correctly, he used to run the deck with just a pod or 2 pods as like a
Well,
little...
Scotty Wright has had a love-hate affair with the card birthing pod. The one certainty is that every week there will be a well, he's playing Forest. Oh, and he's playing Absence Pilgrim.
Not just any pilgrim either.
That's a promo. And as we all know, because it's foil, it taps for twice the mana. So back to my story about his birthing pod addiction. The question is not whether or not birthing pod is in the deck. It's how many. Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it all 4? I think there's 2 in that deck, but I can't be for certain. Now, look at that. The pre-hand game the pre-game handshake.
It's always a good sign.
Quality sportsmanship. And
you can tell a man how good of a man or the player is sitting aside from you when you beat him or you lose to him. How they shake your hand. I always think so, at least.
It's just a good sign of quality of character. Well, all's fair. We're double mulligan down to 6 on each side. And while we've got a lull in the action here, we want to just thank Lost Legion Games and Comics, located in beautiful South Charleston, West Virginia, for allowing us to stream this. They run a standard event every Friday night, usually standard. Draft events available basically the month after release. At this stage in the game with a pretty stagnant format, they don't really want to run drafts, but we appreciate them letting us come in here and hijack their table and their upload bandwidth. You'll have to forgive us if we have any technical difficulties as we're still ironing things out here, but we should be good to go. There's a little bit of glare, but we've sorted that out mostly. And in a minute or so, between the first and second game, we'll give you some contact information on how to get a hold of us.
So it looks like the game started.
And they have started.
And there's a loot.
It's a classic opener. And in a classic fashion, Trent has placed the mountain in the most glare-filled spot on the entire table. And I guarantee you, Scott just asked him to move it. Well, Gristlebrand's in the bin.
Not.
I'm not entirely sure what that is.
He's going to cover it up, so you won't get to know. And I
A
think
mystery card.
I believe he separated his graveyard into targets as well.
It's almost as if he plans on getting the Gristlebrand out at a later point.
That's just silly, though. We both know that the graveyard isn't something you play with. You play with your hand and your library.
Scotty misses his Mana Dork on turn 1. He's got a Huntmaster. And I think a Macias, which is a 1-of.
Well, there's a cemetery. I think it's coming in tapped. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like a true gentleman, Scotty has asked him to move the cards to a point where we can actually see what they are. I mean, this is a low-tech operation. We don't have a professional set and lighting. There's no best boys or gaffers out there.
Visionary?
Visionary cycles. This is not the Ideal start. And look at this, local celebrity and Lost Legion's shop manager, J.B. Roberts, in the booth. Mocking us for our tech geekdom.
Is that a pilgrim on Trent's side, I think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'm assuming he just drew. Or he would have played earlier. I don't know, he may have wanted to loot earlier. That's a cell phone that needs to be turned off.
My bad.
Well, I think it's going to be McKay's for 2. No, Bonfire for 1. Scotty has a slow draw, and I guess is going to play the control in this game. He's not going to... He's going to have a hard... Yep, he's sorting all the creatures out. He's going to have an uphill battle once Trent gets to 5 mana, but... It's Magic, anything can happen, right?
Then again, if Trent never hits 4 mana, that's an even steeper climb on his end.
Yeah, he didn't play a land here. I think that's Mulch.
Yeah. I would agree, and there's a Norn.
There's a Norn, a Thragtusk. Well, he had 2 lands off of it.
Yeah.
Crag will come in untapped as well. And he didn't play land, did he?
No, he didn't.
He just straight missed the land. And what happened? Let's hope it doesn't come back to bite him. Or depending upon your affiliation, maybe you want it to come back and bite him. We are equal opportunity supporters here. This guy's got a township now.
And he's going to lay a cavern?
He's in a cavern. I'm not sure what he named. We do not have tableside reporters on this, so... And we're working on a system to get life totals. Which, to a certain extent, I imagine downgrades the watchability of this, but maybe I should be keeping track of this. You live, you learn, folks.
So, the next time, we will keep track.
No, I have some paper. Note to self. Keep track of these gentlemen's life totals. I think Trent is at 18.
Yeah.
And Scotty, I think, is...
And there's
nope,
Macias.
he's a 17 because of the bonfire. Yeah, he laid the Macias. He's got the township in hand, and 4 mana to activate it. I think this guy's just going to go down on the township plan at this point and just beat down with his little dudes. I think he has a Restoration Angel in hand too, which is going to pose some slight problems. Because he can't really cycle it for value. If he townships, then the Visionary will draw him a card, but he'll lose the power off of it. None of his other 2 creatures really cycle that well. He casts another looting. Is that Worm Coil? That went in the bin?
I believe that's a Worm Coil.
Trent is not short on reanimation targets. Now it's simply, can he get them onto the battlefield?
Particularly the Frites deck does like an Unburial Rights at some point.
It's almost as if the deck relied upon it. Although, to be fair, it can hardcast most of its threats. And just as we thought, he's going beat down there.
So he's going to Macias, and then a nifty trick, he's going to Gaffney to replace that counter. Yep. And give his other creatures a counter from Macias and the township.
Yep, so that's 3, 6 total, right?
Yeah.
Should be down to 11. Scotty, I think, is still at 20. Land Unburial Rights still probably wins this game for Trent.
Just getting that Norn out.
Well, Norn, the guy's creature's out of Norn range at this point. It's the Gristlebrand that still is going to gain him 7 life every turn. That looks like 5. There it is.
Back to
Choices. Yeah, he went with the Norn. Which kills Macias, because Macias should have been on 2 counters, I think, at that point. And Macias is base 0/0, right?
Yes. Metamorph the Norn?
The one, I imagine he would be remiss if he didn't. The one main deck Metamorph, I believe, coming in. Legend ruling the Norn.
No mirror works here, so...
Which...
Mirror gallery.
Yeah. Which is going to let him get in there for another 6. Should put him to 5. At 5, he's dead on board. Showing lethal next turn, but of course Trent does have the burial rights in his yard, as well as a plethora of creatures. The Thragtusk will put him out of lethal range immediately. The Wormcoil and the Gristlebrand will both gain him some life. Is Gristlebrand 4 and 4 black?
Yes.
Is it 8?
I think.
He's almost to the point where he can naturally cast it. Is he not playing? He doesn't have access to white mana, which I should have noticed earlier, I guess. I guess this deck plays Clifftop Retreats. Is that the source of white mana?
I believe so. And Pilgrims.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's an Inferno Titan. That should be game. Does he not have a second red? He does not. Because I guarantee you that Cavern is not named a giant. I think the Cavern named human. I have no idea what that was about. And he should be down to 2 life. It's a white source or nothing.
Or another Wrights.
It looked like a Pilgrim to me. The chump blocker won't do it.
And there we go.
The universal symbol of, well, and the game 1 handshake. We have the game 0 handshake, the game 1 handshake.
And if we're lucky, we'll get game 2 and 3 handshakes.
Yeah, I mean, can we get greedy? Can we get greedy? Well, Jordan, while we have a break in the action, let's tell the fine people of the internet about this store that we're coming to you from, Lost Legion Games and Comics.
It's a lovely place.
It's a lovely place. It's a lovely chain of stores in the greater West Virginia area. 5 locations, not 4 locations, to stand correct. There's the Lost Legion Games and Comics, the Rifleman, located here in South Charleston. They also have a shop in Beckley, West Virginia, a shop in Princeton, West Virginia, and a newly opened shop in Parkersburg, which I think has been there for the better part of 3 or 4 months.
Yes. And I've heard good things of Beckley. I've not visited the others, but I would not doubt they'd be just as lovely.
Well, I can speak with full authority that they are fine establishments that anyone should feel welcome to attend. Now, I know what people are saying. The 7 people that will inevitably watch this, they're saying, Zach, why on earth would I want to come to a store in West Virginia? Because up until you just said West Virginia, I didn't recognize that was a state that existed. Or, conversely, I still think you're making a mistake and mean the western part of the state of Virginia. Well, what I would like to tell you is this. Columbus is a sweet 2:15, 2 hours, 15 minutes. Pittsburgh, 3.5, 4. Morgantown, WVU, 50,000 people live there. Just 2 hours.
There's Ashland.
Ashland, Kentucky is an hour away. Cincinnati's 3 hours away.
All good places.
All within reasonable driving distance for example, for having a PTQ or Grand Prix trial.
Yes.
Or if you're driving to the beach. Charleston, West Virginia, the home of not 1, not 2, but 3 major interstates. So if you're going to Virginia Beach or down to North Carolina to Myrtle Beach, and you drive through West Virginia, you should stop conveniently off the interstate, I-64, Lost Legion Games and Comics, specializing in card games, board games, comics, miniatures, weekly War Machine, Warhammer, Pokemon, Magic events.
Comics.
Tons of comics. And then a vast, virtually unlimited supply of comics that we are currently sitting in amongst in this tiny room that we have co-opted for our use as a bin. While we're shuffling up here, let's do a quick swap out and whoops, swing and a miss, Jordan.
It's getting there.
Just want to show everybody how they can reach Lost Legion. Lost Legion's website is located at lostlegiongames.com. I will correct this for the next time, but I've been informed this email address is incorrect. It's lostlegiongamesandcomics@gmail. So if you want to send them an email, please make note of that. We'll change that. If you want to get in touch with me, my Twitter handle is ZachSellsMagic, and I can be reached at ZachSellsMagic@gmail.com if you have any suggestions, comments, complaints about the webcast.
I think we're mulligans resolved, and we're all right straight into game 2.
There's a turn 1 mana accelerator that Scott's deck leans heavily on.
Now
Did he draw a card?
No,
Yeah.
he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And Scotty's going to be the gentleman there, and go ahead and tell him that he didn't.
Well,
Ooh.
this is far from the most cutthroat. That's an Absence Pilgrim. Yeah, like I said, you'll have to forgive us. We are still working on some glare. We've got it sorted slightly, but we can do the best we can with what we have now.
So that 3, a Splicer on turn 2.
That's the power of the turn 1 mana dork. Joe Lewis joins us in the booth. Joe, did you win?
Yes, I did, because I faced myself and was victorious.
Did you get a bye?
Yes, I did.
The best way to win?
I think we should be asking ourselves the question here, is 4 Terminus too many? Or 4 Temporal Mastery too many?
Are you playing your Miracles deck?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about
Can
deck
you ever have
deck construction.
Yes.
In this current standard format. But while that was going on, Kirk resolved a Lingering Souls, which should buy him a reasonable amount of time. But as we were talking about earlier, that turn 1 Pilgrim gives Scott access to that turn 2 Blade Splicer, which is pretty quick clock. He's following that up with a pod. I told you he had pods in there.
We weren't sure how many pods. I figured there was a pod in there. It's a great card to have.
Trent gets a quick update. Now he tapped 4 mana. I don't know if he's just shortcutting and paying the 4 life and going up the chain, which I imagine that Blade Splicer will turn into a Huntmaster. But
which is always fun.
We will know quite soon if he puts that Blade Splicer in the bin. Now they're having a contest to see who can point at more cards. Looks like Scott won.
Looks like that Blade Splicer's still around.
What's in Trent's graveyard right now?
Trent's graveyard is just Lingering Souls. He's not played looting at this point. Game 1, he had a bin full of goodies, but only 1 Unburial Rights, which got a Norn, which was quickly dispatched by Scotty's 1 of Phyrexian Metamorph naturally drawn. And then Scott beat him down with Township on little guys. And he couldn't find a white mana to get back the Gristlebrand. It is interesting. He did have Gristlebrand and Wormcoil option, and then went with Norn. But at that point, Scott's guys were 3/3s. So.
Trent's been, from what I understand, working on this deck for a while.
You're more than welcome to. No, it's just a matter of how he wants to chain.
Pot up the Pilgrim?
Is that a Visionary? That's interesting. I don't know exactly what he's digging for here. I figured he'd want to be as aggressive as possible. And once again, I've forgotten to keep track of what the life totals are.
Well, you win some, you lose
Do you
some.
have any of those giant dice? You know the one like...
I know what you're talking about.
Well,
Needs a pair of those.
We're going to have
Steel's the only one I know.
And Max has one too. But conveniently, neither of them have brought them to the store tonight.
So, folks at home, you can blame Max Turner and Joseph Deal. We'll give their addresses later, and
This
you're
looks
welcome to find them.
Does look like Trent has access to black mana. He's going to be able to linger soul here. He's going to hope that Scotty is not going to bonfire off the top and wreck his work with it.
Isn't that just a standard as a format in about 10 words? Is hope and pray they don't have bonfire?
Well, yes, because bonfire exists, lingering souls in Frites, which traditionally stands as the removal / buy me turns until I out-fatty you, is not as good and leads to
Lingering
many
Souls
deaths.
is just a flashbackable fog in this Frites deck. It's just something to get in the way, and then there's that corner case every 10th game where you got Norn out, and they become
3/3 beat sticks.
Gatling guns. He's potting something.
Get the
Painful
visionary
cause.
out of there.
Looks like Scotty's going for Blade Splicer here.
Yeah, he might go for Ranger. I think he's mission red.
He means he's probably sitting on that bonfire.
I think gets a nice unhinged land. Now this is, believe it or not, this is a topic I wanted to discuss. I've got the both of you here. Let's talk about it. What is your priority in putting lands in your deck? Here's what I'm thinking. There are 3 schools of thought. Number 1, you got to have the most pimp cards. You want to have Unhinged, Unglued, Zendikar Basics, Foil if possible. People want to have their lands look good. I mean, you're going to play with lands in every deck, right?
This is true.
You want to have them. It's your way of turning your deck into your piece of art. Show ownership of your deck. Number 2, people could care less, and they just put whatever 12 mountains are closest to them when they're building and sleeping the deck. No matching art, no matching set. And the third subsection, a very small set, is people who intentionally put revised white-bordered cards in their deck just to grief everyone else because they're the ugliest things in the world.
Well, I'm under the full impression that, me personally, I like to have my lands all look the same. I have
Well,
personal style and
There's
art.
value to it. If someone probes you and sees one art of a forest, and then you draw your card and play another art of a forest, they knew what you drew. It's fundamentally correct to have them all match. Some would argue that the margins by which you can gain in that are probably pretty small, and since none of us are playing this game for a living, I mean, I'm currently not. Joe, are you?
No, I'm currently not playing this game for a living either, but I do have to say that generally in poker, if you know what your opponent has in his hand, then you are going to have the upper
Joe,
edge.
that's an interesting question. I'm glad you brought that up because I was curious to know. I've been told that in poker, the key is to know when to hold them, and then subsequent to that, also when to fold them.
Yes, that's true, but usually that knowledge comes along with knowing what your opponent has as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing what he has and when to hold him and when to fold him, both go hand in hand.
Well, I will say, just real quick, a note that we have a Grizzlebrand.
There's a Grizzlebrand. It's very convenient. Trent does something that's very convenient for us. Anything he eventually wants to pull out of his graveyard, he sets in a sub-graveyard, which allows us to see them.
So Trent is layering his graveyard for the benefit of the cameras, and we appreciate Trent much appreciated for this. Since
Did Scott just play the township? Because he can go.
He played the mountain last turn, or whenever he got the ranger, because he had missed the land drop that turn.
Well, he can activate the township, which will be a real bear for Trent, because he can't 1-for-1 any of his dudes. There's not a lot of profitable blocks at that point. I didn't see what's in his hand. Trent just buys himself a turn. He keeps flicking them. Goes up the chain, and I imagine this has to be a Huntmaster at this point. Oh, well, he might get an Angel and bounce that Blade Splicer. That's exactly what he's doing.
Just get some extra value. Have an already very valuable card.
Huntmaster would have been a good call as well too there, and as Trent does not have any instant speed removal or anything instant speed in his deck, Scotty can make the Huntmaster flip when he wants to.
Well, he didn't cast anything this turn. If you pod the Huntmaster in, it flips immediately anyway, which is a nice little interaction with that card. I don't really know if one's better at this point. I mean, with the township on board, that Blade Splicer copy is he's effectively getting another 4 power, where the Huntmaster would be 4 and 2, which would be 8 power, I guess. So it's a 6 and 1, but this way is 4 power, has evasion.
Yeah, Trent looks like he does have access here to Norn mana right now.
Is it 1,
He's
2,
got
3, 4, 5, 6, and 8?
He's got double white from the 2 pilgrims.
Can't see what he's in hand. Can just hard cast a fatty here and see what he does. He is looks like he's dropping something.
That's a lot of mana. Go Homer.
And he is putting down, oh my friend,
Flare
Flare the Hatebound.
I do still love this guy.
Do you play now, Joe? You play Frites, right? This is
Yes.
this is basically the deck you play with his own modifications, right?
Yes.
Now, do you play Flare?
I play Flare as a one-of, yes.
Okay.
Flare is, when he's great, he's absolutely phenomenal. When he's not, he's absolutely the worst card in your deck.
Well, I want to try and avoid using Magic slang as best I can. But is Flare not a win more card?
But Flare?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is a win more card.
Is there ever a situation where you would like to have Flare instead of, say, a Wormcoil Engine or another Fatty? If that card had been another copy of Gristlebrand, would he have not been... Does this deck play all 4 Gristlebrands?
My deck, I run one Gristlebrand.
I've seen Trent Farr open packs of Magic cards.
I know he told me
he has a million Gristlebrands.
When he was talking to me about this
an artist.
last week, he was 3-3 on the Legends. He was 3 Norns and 3 Gristlebrands.
Okay.
And we talked about his number of fatties he had in there. So he may still be on 3 Gristlebrands right now. Flare, it gets you over top somebody when you need to get over top somebody. He can be removal. He is difficult to deal with. And I get with control decks who love to day the field, as he can just go to her dome, and any other creature comes in the battlefield he animates is again just a removal or something to the dome.
Which I like too, because you get that extra value out of your cards entering from the graveyard, an immediate effect that sometimes you might have to wait a turn for.
Oh, and the greatest feeling ever is to reanimate a Gristlebrand with a Flare on the field and gain 7 and deal 7. And then immediately draw 7 cards.
That was a very thorough analysis, Joe, and I will take that in consideration and still think it's a win more card, but I can see situations where... But more importantly, Scott found himself a Hunt Master. He has that's his Zealous Conscripts in hand, isn't it? It's Conscripts in hand and the Metamorph.
Okay. Conscripts could lead to a blowout here if he gets turn here against Trent. If Trent does not play around it or work his way around it.
Well, he's going to Township at the end of Trent's turn, I think. Well, I don't know. I mean, what's he going to pod for here? Or is he going to... I think he's going to Township instead. And then try to Alpha Strike next turn. Because if Grant reanimates that Gristlebrand, he'll just lose, I think.
Now, he needs a Norn here now. And Norn only probably saves him for a minute. But Zealous Conscripts will do its job if he puts Norn down.
Well, he'll cast Conscripts, steal Norn, and if he doesn't win that turn, which I think is somewhat impossible, he'll just pod Norn away and fail to find.
Well, flashing at the right, or the...
Loot.
That's it. Loot. I think he's digging for some answers.
Pilgrim.
And is that a
Mulch?
mulch?
I think there's a Flayer.
And what's
in
in
his
his
hand.
hand?
It looks like a
Flare
Flayer.
Hatebound is bad here because it does not have an immediate impact. Now, here's where Inferno Titan would have been better.
Inferno Titan would have been better the first time.
Inferno Titan would have been better the first time. Like I said, he's a
You
one-of
live,
in mine.
you
and
live,
he
you
is-
learn. You live,
he's-
you learn. Now, I know in Legacy Dredge decks they often put...
To get over...
ever since the gentleman whose name I cannot remember made the top 8 at Grand Prix Indianapolis with the one of, it turns the Dredge deck into a much faster combo deck because you can Dread Return your Flare, and then you can Dread Return your Grave Troll, which at that point should be enormous enough to kill them all in one fell swoop.
Yes, and you also will get your Icarid triggers. That's lightning bolts every upkeep.
Mm-hmm. Of course, this is in the mythical world where you still have a graveyard.
Yes, in the mythical world of graveyard. Oh, Fiend Hunter, and this is probably going to be
I mean, that's
it
an
for
army over
Trent.
there. That's just...
I mean, he's townships. Those guys all have all the flyers have two counters on them. And if we had
He
any
still
way of
has access
determining
to-
what the life totals were, is
Scotty
Trent still at
should-
20?
He's been using those souls
He
for a while.
has that spin down there, and that looks remarkably like an Avacyn restored expansion symbol on top of it. I'm not sure he's taken any damage.
Which is ridiculous.
Well, he did cast. He hard cast 2 souls and flashed them both back. And Scotty.
He's got some,
It's
and
a
it is
Wormcoil
Gristle.
engine.
It is a Wormcoil engine.
This should be game though, I think, because he's going to conscripts the Wormcoil. I know he's only playing 1 Fiend Hunter, I think, so he can't go up the chain there. But he's going to
The Gavany here is what does it.
All of his birds are now 3 power. He's going to steal the worm coil with the conscripts, and that should be enough. And he has almost enough in the air. So he's got 15 in the air.
Even if he
He's got to count it out. He's got plenty.
Well, Trent does have Forest open.
Zealous. There he is. He's conscripting. And the worm coil is joining in for the party.
And
that's a lot of guys.
Zach Evans forgets to turn his timeout off on his laptop, and we see lock screen from Windows as he zelfs conscripts.
Oh, did he have enough money to do both?
He metamorphed that conscript.
1, 2, 3,
that's
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
That's just punishment right there.
There it is, the Game 2 handshake.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Zealous Conscripts is a heck of a magic card.
Especially when you can make 2 on the same turn.
The only thing better than a free lunch is a free lunch you don't have to pay for. And the only thing better than 1 Zealous Conscripts is 2 or more Zealous Conscripts.
Trent dirtled around there quite a bit in that game, it looked like. Did not
no use of the word dirtle. But yes, a little bit dirtly. But I mean, this is what you're signing up for when you play Frites. If I'm correct, you're going to have some draws that are nigh unbeatable, and you're going to have some draws that play lands and make small creatures and lose subsequently thereafter.
That's how Magic is anyway.
That is how Magic is. Sometimes you win, and sometimes
you lose to a wall of fire. Actually, if you lose to a wall of fire, Seacomb, because that's a defender. And let's say, animate the walls.
Yep. In a world where people are animating walls, that could happen. All right, Joe. Well, good luck in round 2.
Thank you. Hopefully, we'll be able to be under the lights soon.
Well, only the best and the brightest.
I'm going to check on a friend.
That's fine. But while those guys step out, before we take a quick break here between rounds, just want to give you the links that will let you check out the archives of this footage. It's available first on our stream. It's twitch.tv/ZachSellsMagic. That's where all the live streams will be, and Twitch will also archive footage so you can watch matches on there as you see fit. We're also archiving our footage on YouTube. This stream will be archived on Zach Sells Magic, which is misspelled there because the wheels are falling off this thing. But Jordan also has put some videos done that he's done independently of this, and that's available at, should be Lost Legion videos. This is quite the train wreck. So I'm going to take that off the screen, and we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back with round 2 in about 10-15 minutes.